Okay. Yeah, I think we're good. Are we good? Close, close. Okay, yep. Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Hope you're doing well. Make sure my audio is coming through. Yep. Okay. Hope you're doing well. I am doing well. I have my youngest is now off on a adventure for the day. He is joining a local preschool where he gets to play in the forest all day with some amazing supervision and wonderful teachers. And so I've got like a slot open on Wednesdays and Thursdays where I'm going to try and make some sort of just hang out, just create some time to just hang out and talk about Splinterlands, blockchain, crypto, you know, all things that I'm interested in, family, finance, faith, as far as I'm concerned. And so if you guys are down, let's do it together. And I will make it a relatively regular lunch hour commitment on Wednesdays, I think maybe every week even. And so probably Wednesdays I'll do an hour, and on Thursdays I'm going to try and do 2 hours. That's for my members only. So if you guys are interested, you can check out the members page and support the channel at whatever level you want. And those guys get invited to members lives. And we talk about, I take personal questions and we get into whatever we want to talk about, which hopefully we'll do today with you guys. Let me know when you're here. Drop a comment in the chat. I'd like to see who's out there. I'm gonna fire up some music. So I've got something to listen to besides my own beautiful voice. Boom. And turn that down a little because I think it's probably a bit too loud. I'm going to go into the there. Let me know if the music, first of all, if you can hear the music, and second of all, if it's too loud. I don't want it to be, if it's too quiet, that's okay. I can hear it. Frankly, I just don't want you to be drowned. I don't want it to drown out the conversation for you guys. Okay. So, check out the chat. See who's popping by. Birds, bees, and trees. Good to see you, pal. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. Dahoda. Love you, buddy. Can't wait to have that chat. Next Tuesday night, if you're still down, let's make it happen. 8 o'clock, I'm hoping to have a chat with Dahoda. He's got some cool ideas for the game. You got quite an X presence, pal. Twitter champion over here. Thanks, pal. Jim, good to see you, bud. Hope everybody's doing as well as I am. It's a beautiful sunshiny day here in Langley, British Columbia. And if I wasn't here, I'd be out going for a run, which I love. I don't know if you guys know that about me, but I'm 235, which is not a light person, but I love getting out there and going for a long run, hour and a half, 2 hours, and just I'll throw in some music and I'll just go and just enjoy. Even when it's pouring rain, but especially when it's beautiful, that sunshine, and with the fall. I don't know if everybody lives in a place where you enjoy the sort of fall that we get, but those orange and those yellow and those red leaves, it's stunning. It's stunning. And some cities are more blessed with that than others. I know that Vancouver, BC or Langley, BC certainly has that. And it can be so wonderful to go for a run. And when you do get the sunshine in the middle of that season, you get this brisk, cold air, which is so refreshing to breathe in. And yet the warmth from the sun, and also that rare moment of dryness, so you're not just trudging through the rain and the puddles, which is okay, and it's fun in its own way. But yeah, I love it. And if I wasn't here, I'd be out doing that. And so maybe I have to fit that in separately tonight after the kiddies go to bed, because I need my fitness as well. But I thought I'd hop on, and I'm excited to just try to check out. I looked at a few comments in the comment section. I'm happy to talk about whatever you guys are interested in. I fought some Guild Brawl battles today. I filmed that, and I'll put that out later this week. Guild Brawl battles, man. I am all the more convinced in this new season of Splinterlands. And I didn't watch the video, but I saw Aftersun did a video saying how gladiators need to move into what. I think that might be true. First of all, from a game experience perspective, because I want fresh gladiators. I don't want there to be no gladiators. I want there to be fresh gladiators that are modern, that fit within the modern league. Rebellion gladiators that are going to follow the Rebellion League. And as we see Rebellion eventually move into Wild, then they would move into Wild as well, as we would come to expect with any addition of cards now and forevermore, I hope. But my thinking is that, and again, I didn't watch Aftersound's video, so I don't know if this is kind of his exact point, or maybe he went a different direction with it, but those cards are so impactful. They're so powerful, impactful. I play them all the time. I played 20, I want to say 20 battles yesterday in Modern, and I'm making crazy SPS gains, like in Modern, in Gold. Look at me, 2560, which is Gold 1, right? Yeah, Gold 1, Diamond 3 is 240 points out. Is that right? Yeah, 240 points out. But check out this last win 14 hours ago. I think it's 8 SPS or 7.5 or something like that. We'll let it play while we talk. And of course I didn't play any gladiators in this one. You know what? Skip this one. We're going to quickly skip this one. I'm going to show you. Before we do, we watch a battle and we talk about the SPS gains, and we're going to look at gladiators. Gladiators. I know I've been playing a lot of them. Drath as well. Not a gladiator, but I've been playing him a lot. I know that they're in here. I took note of it the other day. Yesterday, when I finished my battle. There's a number of battles where it's not. But then we go probably 5 in a row where we see a gladiator. Wow, there's a gladiator. That's the Isgold Vorst. So powerful. Is that honestly it? I know for a fact we went like 5 in a row where we did it. But I'm not seeing it. Maybe I played so many games that those ones rotated out. There's Katrelba. There's Vorst again. There's Katrelba. So yeah, there was a good 10 battles where 9 or 10 of them in a row I was using a gladiator and I was doing quite well. Look. Win with Katrelba. Lose with Vorst. Win with Katrelba. Win with Katie. Lose with no gladiator. Win with no gladiator. But yeah, these things there's a win with Vorst. These things are obviously huge. They're super impactful. And we've had these ones for a long time. So I mean, there's the angle of we've had them for a long time and we just want to see change. That's always fun and fresh. But it's also from the perspective of many people haven't had the chance to earn those cards at all. And like these gladiators I've been working on for a long time. I don't even know how long anymore. But since gladiators have come out, I've been working on these. I've been in a guild the whole time, playing at a high level, earning, lots of merits. And yet I'm only level 8 on my commons. Do I have any 9s? I'm level 6 or 7 on my rares. I'm level 4 on my epics, and 1 or 2 or maybe 3 on my legendaries. Yeah, we're getting there. 47%, 55%, 75%, 58% on those Gladius cards. But man, we've got a long way to go. And my point is, it's been a long time we've been playing these ones. They're hugely impactful even at these levels. I don't want to, take them out of the game. I want them to be enjoyed in the wild, because I think it's taken 2 or 3 years for some of us to get this selection of these powerful cards that do really matter and do impact the game. And if we talk about the new player experience and being able to compete and not be smacked around by people with these old assets that they can't access, that's to me, that's one of the barriers that this represents. I love that I have that edge on you. Probably I have it on you or some people. I love that these help me win more than they, because I have a disproportionate pack or set of these cards. That's great for me. Is it great for the new player who has none of these cards or few of these cards? Even if you've been playing for the last 6 months, you're not going to have nearly the kit that I have with these things. And so that just feels like a hurdle. And so there's let's make it easier for fresh faces to enter. Let's remove some of those hurdles. There's also, let's, iterate and create new opportunity for collection and joy in a game, in-game battle mechanics to be reinvigorated with fresh blood, fresh content, fresh cards. The gaming experience is as fresh as the new cards allow them to be. The new cards bring new synergies, which bring new considerations and calculations on how we're going to win and how we're going to turn probably defeat into victory. And so there's the piece of helping new players. There's also the piece of creating, new joy for existing and long-term players. But that doesn't mean I want to just do away with them. I would love for them to be somehow unlocked, saleable, because I want to max some of these out. Some of them I've been thinking about maxing out forever, or wanting to have maxed out forever. I feel like Crash Wanderford is a card I'm starting to put into rotation. I wonder if Splinter Coach can reveal to me. Did they show my gladiators? Go monsters. Let's go. Trell. They do. Catrell, 147 and 129. That card, that's a very high win rate for a lot of play. Now, is it as frequently utilized as, some of the other cards? Of course not. Let's scroll up. Number 50 out of my whole collection. There's some really powerful cards that have been around longer, that I played more, like Chicken. Sure, been around way longer. But in terms of the window of time that cards like Catrell, and that's one of the best gladiators have been around, the impact it's had on my play and the game itself while it's existed, it's been very pronounced. And that's a really high win record for so many games played. Really, 533 is a very awesome win record. If we look at win percentage, you got to discount all the top ones, because they're usually, you played them 10 times, and so yeah, they got amazing win rates. Look at the Wood Nymph though, by the way. When it plays, how is that even possible? That win rate is ludicrous. The Spineback Turtle, by the way. Okay, but we're getting distracted. Sorcerer, same deal. Madcap Magus, is that right? I never would have thought. I'm getting distracted. I want to look at like where is the best win rates for in the multi-100 battles? Here we go. Elven Mystic is the first one to have multi-100 battles, and it's over 6. That's crazy. Elemental Phoenix, look at that win rate. Oh, I guess it's actually worse. It just looks nicer with the under 100 on the losses. High Priest, Darius, really? Some of these are surprising. That's why I love Splinter Coach, because it just reveals data. And this is, although I like this tool, it's not sponsored, so I'm just sharing information that I'm enjoying looking at. Almo Cambia, look at that crazy data. 1,000 matches under its belt, and it's still running at six wins for 10 losses, right? 6 wins for 10 games. But my point is, of the cards that play multi-100 battles, anything over 500 is amazing. And that Catrell is by design hamstrung, because it requires one summoner to bring it to the battlefield, right? Outside of Guild Brawl battles, you must use a Soulbound summoner that has to allow the gladiator to enter the battlefield. And of course, there's that one rule set: are you not entertained? But my point still stands. There's a restricted level to which those gladiators can even reach the battlefield, and yet it's able to put out that sort of win record with that sort of amount of play. And so, full circle to the conversation, gladiators are hugely impactful. Are they holding back? Are they going to, if we don't change them soon, hold back new players because it's this piece of technology that they can't access? They're going to need years to accumulate what we've accumulated. Plus, won't it revive the Guild Brawl battle and maybe the game as a whole if you started to release another 40 or 60 or whatever gladiators you might actually release? Actually, how many are there? Let's go items, goods, gladiators. I want to know how many gladiators there are in this set. I bet it's 40 or something like that. Regular only. I don't know if I think I must have them all. I do have them all cards. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 32. So there's 32 total. 32 fresh new gladiators would really impact the game. And it would take 3 to 9 months for it to start that footprint to be felt. Because as these moved out of the modern, if that was what we were going to do, you would bring in new, and they wouldn't immediately be available. You'd have them at level 1 and 2 until such time that you got earned enough merits to unlock those packs. But even if this doesn't happen today or tomorrow, wouldn't it be great to start hearing confirmation about when this will happen? I want to know when this will happen, because obviously it will eventually. And so when is the question, because don't you want to prepare? Everyone who takes this game seriously and who is here for across a long time horizon is going to want to have a huge stockpile of merits. At least I will. That's my thinking. Is I'm going to want to have a huge stockpile of merits so I can come in and buy all new Gladius cases when the new edition releases. So I do think this is important. I do think this is valuable. I do think this is part of attracting new players and also incentivizing old. And I think it's probably time. These have been around for a long time. They're long in the tooth. They're pretty cool and they're getting better. But I think those are actually double-edged swords, that they're cool and they're getting better. Because they're cool for me who have them. They're getting better for me who's been here for years. But that is in itself a downside to those who are coming in and trying to distinguish themselves and win more often, set apart by these amazing cards. So I find it hard to believe that anyone would disagree with those thoughts, but if you have any sort of disagreement, I'd love to see it. Nice to hold it in for next Tuesday. Appreciate it. Paul, good to see you. What's the number one ranked card in my deck? In my deck, that's an interesting question because it's probably more complicated than, a short answer, isn't it? There's probably multiple ways to look at that. Let's think about that. What would I say to summarize that? I mean, the quick and easy response is summoner data reveals the most winningest summoner I have in this game is Lily Shieldpaw, with over just shy of 1,000 battles and a 585 win record. It is so much better than the number 2, which is Quixodevious, right? That data is huge. That is a huge difference. 132 less wins from Quixodevious, and yet Quixodevious is in its own right a super powerful summoner. So I think and Kalia Immortalis, do any of these surprise you? Of course, these are amazing cards. Top 6, top 10. Wow. And Kitty would be blowing out these others from the water, would be running at a 670 or 6.6 win rate if I just owned it all the time. I only rent it sometimes. Of course, it would be dominating this list if I had it. I don't anymore. And so Lily or Quix are obviously the best summoners from the most winningest perspective and the best monsters. Let's see. I bet it's Dr. Blight and Almocambia. Yep, Dr. Blight, Almocambia. Supply runner. Yeah, if I thought long and hard, I would have said that too. Number 3. It's not the first time I've looked at this data, but I've also looked at the data that comes out of Xbox card research. If you don't know, it's pretty interesting. Xbox card data. Maybe I should link this in my chat or something. Maybe in the video description later on, I'll put this. I got this from Silence. I don't know where, I guess he got it from Xbox, but this is pretty interesting because it tells you the most powerful cards, the value score. The total elo is sort of the point impact of the card, but then the value score calculates also its price point in relation to its power or effectiveness. And so things like Uraeus or Kelia or Thaddeus or Jin Oceanus are actually the most impactful for the price point. And so that's another way of looking at it. It's not just which cards do you play and win the most with, but what ones win the most respective to their power, to their price point. And then I think simultaneously, there's sub distinctions on the most impactful or the most important card, let's say. Are you playing in Modern? That transforms the conversation completely. And as you start to think through Modern, I mean, some of these cards are in Modern, but you could see how that would absolutely change things too. And then there's also, even though a card like Dr. Blight plays look at that number, almost 2,000 matches. That's crazy. Can you see that on screen right now? Yeah. 2,000 matches with Dr. Blight. This card is the most impactful card in Splinterlands, period, full stop. It plays all the time. But is it itself? I think the answer is yes, but I'm going to ask the question anyways. Is it itself a carry card? Or is it an amazing add-on support card? Support in the sense of 4 mana is very, very little, and you usually can afford 4 mana for something so impactful. It has the Scavenge, which turned it into a tank. It's got the Weaken, it's got the Poison, it's got the affliction, those are support functionalities. To be able to afflict my opponent's tank or to poison, a major meat shield on my opponent's team is, in some sense, I know it's offensive, but it is a support consideration. It's a contribution that chips away at what my opponent wants to do, and therefore is helping me in these sort of small ways. Poison is a 50% proc chance. Affliction is a 50% proc chance. Counting on those is different than, and this is why I'm trying to distinguish support versus sort of main carry versus Coraless, or not Coraless, Coral Lurker, or Deep Lurker. Let's feature Deep Lurker, which is also an amazing and very common card. Less win rate, less plays. But I'm saying this drives a 5 bomb with the poison, demoralize, opportunity. That is more impactful. Archimist, impactful in the sense of it itself is doing confirmed damage. The balance and the beauty and the power of a Dr. Blight and cards like Dr. Blight is that they, yes, do damage, but they also chip away at what my opponent's trying to do, which is more of a support consideration. And finally, they're so affordable at 4 mana that they end up being impactful in many, many more matches. And so you might argue that a card like Dr. Blight isn't itself the carry card, but having it within your kit pushes you to a whole other level, because 4 mana by itself wouldn't win you the match, usually, that one card, but the fullness of what it offers you for that low mana cost is so powerful and impactful. Versus comparing it to something like Archimist, which is a totally different card with 12 mana, but it's such a powerful and consistent tank. Or something like Chaos Dragon, which is can't be played in nearly as many contexts. 14 mana is just too expensive. Look at that win rate, huge win rate. But it cannot fit into as many contexts. And yet you would probably call Chaos Dragon a carry card because it does so much damage with the scatter shot and the blast and even the huge hit points. So it itself is like an off tank at least. And so it's just that the Dr. Blight is so synergistic, so cohesive, so broadly applicable. It's not like a main tank. It's not a huge damage dealer in and of itself, but for what it gives you for that 4 mana, it's so useful in so many situations, and that's why. But again, that's one deep dive onto one card. You could, if you wanted to just focus on Modern, I bet there's a totally different consideration. And this is a Chaos card, so it's still within Modern. But I think this is the short-term perspective, and you also have to think, what about in a year when Chaos moves out? What are the carry cards now? And some of that might come from something like this, where if you come in and you search Rebellion, again, this is the Xbox card research data. So across all their battles that their bot has won, it's the data that tells sort of how impactful these cards are. Lurking Puffer, is the first Rebellion card on this list of 800 cards. Goblin Soldier, Moxie and Rebel, Merryput Magician, Avina the Wolf. So Avina the Wolf is the first summoner, isn't it? I think so. Urjack Mystic, Fenmore Haunt. And I won't do rewards because it'll give me all kinds of chaos rewards. I would love to see how the Rebellion reward cards are. You could deep dive on something like this. And so that the question is really interesting because it's not actually as simple as Dr. Blight or, Lily Shieldpaw. Those cards are obvious and powerful and impactful and right now very affordable. At least Lily Shieldpaw is. Dr. Blight's still not exactly cheap. But you have to look at the broader conversation around not just today, but across time too, right? What is a Dr. Blight? What is Dr. Blight going for? Let's go neutral. Wow. So $90 for Max Dr. Blight. The winningest card in the game ever. I've been playing this game for 6 years. And despite that longevity and daily play, now, okay, fair enough. My Splinter Coach data doesn't go back to the beginning of my play with this game. It probably goes, honestly, it goes back to a time only when I had Dr. Blight. So I was gonna misspeak and say, I'm surprised this data outperforms like a card, such as maybe, well, there's some amazing rares that I probably would have played from the reward structure, like Oceanus even, that I would have thought would have played more, or Lord Aranthus, which I've had for long, or Ruler of the Seas. But again, my data doesn't go back all the way. So great question. And it probably makes sense to look at something like that from many angles to really thoughtfully explore not just what is the winningest or the most broadly applicable, but both what is best in this moment and what could be predicted to be the best moving a year into the future, because all of those different criteria will transform the analysis that you're trying to do there. Great, thanks for the comment. Nathan Pekin, they need a wild rule set in Modern. Ooh, where you get to use one wild card. Let's go. Dude, I like that. I like that a lot. I have never heard anybody say that before. Is it, maybe this is a common conversation that people drop in Discord? I've never heard anyone say that before, Nate. I love that idea. It would just be one card. It would only come once in a while. It's not going to break, it's not going to transform the Modern League into a Wild League. I love that idea. That would be so fun. Yes, dude. Yes. And I would think Matt and the team would love that idea, because it'd be one little sort of tip of the hat towards older investors. Because not everybody agrees to this, but I believe they have always stood by their claim to build value into older assets. I know some of that hasn't come to fruition, like for instance with Rooney and the fullness of what we were told that is going to ultimately be, but I don't think that conversation's closed. And so I feel they've honored that promise, or that they've attempted to honor that long-term path towards writing new value into old assets so that they're always desirable. Land and card staking and the extra weight of older cards is part of that. Specific older card rule set brawl battles or tournaments is part of that. I'm promising to never reprint old cards and always trying to tweak new creations so that they're never exactly what the old one was, even if they are close. So I do think that would be really cool, and it'd be one more way the team could sort of tip the hat or honor sort of old card creation, old card issuance, by saying, hey, there's still functionality and usefulness for these amazing cards in a context that you maybe didn't predict or expect. And so if it's 1 in 20 matches are going to see that rule set pop up, 1 in 10, I don't know how many rule sets there are now. Fun to think about. If there are 30 rule sets, just saying off the top of my head, I don't know. And then 3 of them show up per battle. Is it 3 or is it 2? Quickly see. 2, isn't it? It might be more at higher league levels, but let's see. This is gold 1, and I've got Counterspell, Ferocity, and Healed Out. 3 rule sets. If there are 30 rule sets in total, and there might be more than that, but if there are 30 and 3 of them are exposed, 1 in 10 matches are going to produce that sort of functionality that you're describing, which to me is really, really not broken, not overexposed, just fun. I love that idea. Nathan, dude, yes. I hope the team hears that one. I hope they actually do that. I don't hear a lot of talk about rule sets, about like what could be brought into the game that would really make it really enjoyable. But obviously it's one of the ways that it's one of the best ways we can. Oh, I'm gonna lose here with the Kertrob. Man, even though I knew this is an old match, which I knew I lost. I hate watching it. It like hurts my heart to lose in this game. But yeah, that's a great rule set. I love that. And I don't hear a lot of conversation around new rule sets that could be. I actually should put some thought into that and kind of come up with 3 new rule sets that I think would be great in the game. Nathan, I think I might do that, and yours will be inspiration for sure for one of them, because I think that needs more champion. That sounds like a great one, and I don't know if they know about it. Oscu, good to see you, pal. Luini Kisa, appreciate you, pal. All the way on the other side of the world. Alex says, what card can I buy and sell for profit? Yeah. There are so many angles to that too, right? The short-term flip, sometimes they exist. I've talked a lot on the channel about where they come from. I like it when there's a card that moves a lot. Often summoners are the ones that are maybe the more, especially during when new players are rushing to the game, and maybe that's not now. Track that data, look at peak monsters and watch the dashboard and see how many new signups are happening and how many new, spell books are being sold. When that data starts exploding, because I think it will, and maybe you do too, Alex, I bet you do. Then you start looking at the card market in that moment and saying what cards are going to be desired highly, prized immediately. I showed you some of the data earlier. Avina the Wolf is the highest rebellion summoner in terms of its impact, in terms of its Xbot data impact. And so one might argue that would be an amazing card to hold, and it will have, because it'll have a high flip rate, high sell value, a lot of volume around people desiring it, wanting it, buying it. If that's so, recognizing opportunities in that marketplace could be profitable. And that's sort of medium term conversation. But then you go just very, very quickly, because I've talked about this lots of times and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but just to recognize that sometimes cards have, probably Rift Watcher is going to be is a set of cards we can maybe reveal this in. And let's go into legendaries. There may be cards where there's a huge distinction between the per BCX value and the low buy value. That's interesting. If it's a 30 to 50% differential, it's interesting. I don't love Raw, but it's a good card. If there was ever a huge distinction, this is interesting to me. Look at that. This is in Agor Longtail. Per BCX, $6. The per BCX $6 if you buy 6 in one copy. $9 if you want 1 BCX, which is to say there's a 50% savings when you buy in bulk. This is an amazing card. It is a very impactful card. Coming back to Splinter Coach, let's quickly look. I actually honestly just forget the card name. Agor Longtail, my 76th played card. Again, with the 15 mana, it's going to have that restriction, and it's not going to fit into as many scenarios and circumstances as something like Light or even Animal Cambio or Supply Runner. But there's an amazing win rate, almost 500 for a really high, powerful tank. And mine is only a level 3. And so, I probably am over 500 if I have that extra level up, going from 3 to 4. My point is, recognizing per BCX discounts can be one way somebody moves into savings, which then allow space for your profitability. If I was long on Splinterlands, and if I wanted to have cards that were profitable, I would be looking for things like this and cards like this that are impactful, powerful, and desirable. And I would want to buy a lot of the marketplace. Like, I would buy all 3 of these that are in the $6 range and just sit on them. That would be like a 3 month to a 1 year plan. And hopefully in that time, there's an altcoin season where Splinterlands is doing well. And if so, cards like that will be desirable to new player ingression, new players that are coming to the game. And then you have an opportunity to presumably sell into that buying pressure. And I want to argue with people who don't agree with that approach. That's my approach. I'm just telling you, that's what I would do when we talk about how do I make profit on the cards. That is one of the ways that I do it. And that's what I've done historically. It has to happen in the moment of tension. Like, you want to ride that wave like a surfer. You get on the wave as it comes to you. And that wave is the growth of player base. So do you think there's going to be a growth in player base in the next weeks or months? I'm inclined to believe so, but I'm not talking about Agor Longtail because I've bought this. So this isn't a conversation around Dwayne just bought a bunch of these and I'm saying, come buy my bags. I have one of them, period. I think just one of them. So my point is, if I wanted to get my head into the long-term flip, 3 months to 1 year, cards like this, and there's so many more considerations. Like, do you have that card if you don't have it and you would benefit from holding it, that's like an incidental benefit. So you could buy it, hold it, try and flip it, make profit on the flip possibly, but enjoy the card while you own it. That's like a double plus. Like, it makes it all the easier to buy it and hold it, right? To buy it and wait for a flip opportunity, because you're like, I can enjoy the card in the meantime. So there's lots of considerations around how you would do it, but that's a bit of the flavor of how I've approached that in the past. Out of rare, what is the least printed, like promo? Out of rare, the rare cards, which is the least printed? I think you'd just be looking at alphas, wouldn't you? Am I missing any sort of angle on that? We go rares. Serb has 16,000 BCX or 1,800 cards. Haunted Spirit has 18,000. They're all in the 18,000 range. 17 or 18,000. They've got 1,500 to 2,000 cards, depending on how consolidated those assets were. And that's alpha. And then we come into beta, you're going to see bigger numbers, 51,000 or 8,000 copies. Promos. Look at that, 7,000 Grimbardens or 46,000. And then we go back into like an older card, which is, what's the oldest one? I think this might be the oldest one. 8,000 copies. Very similar. Interesting. Rewards. The old reward cards. Look at that, 10,000 copies, 66,000 BCX. Versus some of the newer ones. Oh, look at Chicken. How many copies? 70,000, 25,000 BC cards. Or the more modern ones in the rare, like a Venari Bonesmith, 1.5 million. Ay. So big change. That points me back a little bit to the conversation we were having around gladiators. But I've also talked about this with respect to reward cards. I think it's super important that we have a regular rotation of reward cards. I think it needs to, I know it's been hard, and at times like these reward cards went long and were printed dramatically because of things like bot armies, as well as the reward structure was like pre-reform. It has been reformed substantially since that time. But I think ultimately part of the issue, and maybe the error with things like Wavesmith and Bonesmith and that whole ilk from the Chaos Legion reward set, is that there just wasn't a progression planned for the next release. So the new reward card should have been released way long ago. It should have more to do with the print rate than it does with the timeline. So it might make sense to say every 3 months you release some new reward cards. It might make sense to say every year. I don't know. But it probably makes more sense to say after we start approaching 1 million of the copies. 1 million is a lot, man. 1.5 million, but Bonesmiths, and that's the rare. Look at the commons. They're probably a crazy number. Maybe it's even, like I said earlier, the promos were 50,000. So you could imagine, now it would be a lot of work if you said at 50,000 BCX, that card will go out of circulation. That rare card will go out of circulation. But you could imagine that being the approach, and that would always mean that cards are limited in issuance. That's probably preferable from an investment perspective, from an incentive perspective, to show that the participants in the game are receiving meaningful reward for their time and effort, their time and attention. You would want cards that are scarce. If they have 1.5 million copies, they're not going to be valuable in the same sense as a 50,000 BCX promo card would be. And those are different things, reward card versus promo card. But you see my point. Maybe it's not 50,000. Maybe it's 250,000, because we don't want the team to every 2 weeks to be creating new promo cards. I don't know what the numbers would be. But my point is, issuing a certain card for a year or 2 years just doesn't make sense. And the same with gladiators, but the same with reward cards. It's crazy to say, but many of us that are pretty big in the game are already fast approaching a very significant rebellion soulbound reward set. Like, this is my main account. This is my current data. 75% on commons, 60% on rares, 49% on epics, and 17% on legendaries. Now I'm still a substantial way. There's still a lot of distance to cover before I'm complete. But I'm getting to a place. In fact, I'm probably already at a place where these cards are very impactful. I saw a comment from Oscu on my channel on a different video. Maybe it was my reward video, which came out last night. Oscu, I saw you comment saying that I'm not seeing, like me, I'm not saying people play with these soulbound reward cards because I'm playing at a gold league modern level. You who play at champion see it all the time. I believe it. I believe it. But what I'm saying, what's interesting is that it's only been, what, 3 seasons? I think 4, maybe 4 seasons. I think 3-4 seasons that we've had these soulbound records, and I've already at 75% of my comments. I'm already at 6% on my rares. These cards are huge. They're very powerful, and they are already, according to Oscu, who I trust, impacting the highest leagues of the modern, but also, in my experience, having huge impact on my play at the gold diamond league level. This season, I'm already approaching diamond, and I've got 11 days left. In the last 3-4 seasons that I've been trying to play in modern, I haven't made it this far, this high, this quickly, ever. And I don't know if it's reward cards that are doing it. I don't know what it's doing. Well, there's Quilliant. Legionary is level 6 there. I actually lost that one. There's Night Reaper. I won there. These are soulbound reward cards that are modern, right? What else? There's a Halfling Refugee, which I play a lot. Zoriel the Bale. Is that a chaos one? I'm getting confused now. I think that's a chaos one. Yeah, it is. Anyways, point being, impactful, and they should be rotated out on a regular schedule. I don't know what that means exactly. And if that sounds like criticism with no constructive feedback, I'm sorry, team, if you're watching this one. I just want shorter issuance windows because scarcity is important. It's going to drive excitement around owning the assets and earning the assets. But speaking of earning, you guys saw, and you've been enjoying, I'm sure, the new chest. This is cool. This is my ex, and yesterday I tuned in and I played a bunch of battles, and I was very pumped to see this little number with the when I leveled up the gold 2 to unlock chests. It was cool. I mean, it's relatively minor. Only 5 of the rares and 8 of the commons. I didn't get anything that, breaks the game, but I'm certainly glad I got it. It's just a little thank you that gets you going. It's like these little, and they're soulbound assets, by the way. So, I love that. And this is crazy to me. 8 SPS per win in gold yesterday, and maybe today, I don't know. In modern that is. Versus wild, I'm fighting at 3720, which is champion 3. Oops. That's right. Let's see what he got here. Oh, this is a guild brawl battle. Skip it. I need to see a non-guild brawl battle. Skip. Close. I bet it's 4 or 5 SPS. Play. Wild. Brawl. Okay, this was a win in champion. I bet it's like 3.5 SPS. Is that a brawl? Yes, it is. My goodness. Sorry, guys. Keep clicking on the brawls. It's inconsequential. This is a wild rank match. Okay, and I won it. Replay. .3 SPS. Okay. That's better than I would have thought. That makes me feel like SPS rewards have gone up. In the sense of, they haven't gone up, but in the sense of number of players that are playing out. Must be dropping? Question mark? I don't look at this every day, but it's interesting to note. It's interesting to note how much SPS you're getting there. Because usually I'm used to getting 4 in wild and probably 5 in modern, not 8 in modern and 5 in wild. Plus I'm getting 8 in Modern Gold 1. Usually I get 8 in Diamond 3. Okay, go to dashboard. Come on. Quit fooling around, Peak Monsters. Dashboard. Okay. I'm interested to see this battle data. Actually, let's start there. So the battle data, 1.6 million battles over the last 30 days. And in Wild, 26,000 battles, which is pretty common. Like 29,000 is like more common. So a little bit down. And this is from yesterday. So that data is complete. And the total battles, 51,000, is down substantially from a few days ago at 65,000. But it looks like it ebbs and flows. What's up with that? I wonder if that's like guild brawl battles. Is that people renting cards to thrive in their guild brawl battles? And now when they have those card rentals, doubling, putting a lot of battles in for those 48 hours in the Modern League or sorry, the Wild or any league? Probably. That probably makes sense because you already have the amazing cards. You spent the money on them. You might as well push hard to finish those battles in your regular league. Because it's interesting how rhythmic that is. But that's not the main reason I wanted to look at this screen. I wanted to see the new players. What is happening? See? Still just a couple spell books being sold here and there. Oh, that was 11. This is better. This is better. Like when Matt started talking about how the people touch it and they leave. This has gotten better in the last 30 days. Look at how it was. 1, 2, 0, 3. It's not crazy better, but 3, 3, 11, 1, and 2. Let's see over the next 30 days if that number keeps going up. I hope it does. 74 signups, 52 spell books. Interesting. Okay. I'm going to check back with the chat, see what you guys are chatting about. Oscar talking to Alex. Alex, I'd buy when fear sentiment is high, ergo price is low in general. Then look for meta cards for either Modern or Wild and pick your poison. Once the fear gets normal levels, you will sell. Yeah, that's a really great, concise way of saying it. I would say that the secret sauce to what Oscar is pointing to is going to be really reading sentiment in a valid way. Meaning, what are the sources of information you're taking in that are giving you that litmus test for what sentiment is, where it's at? It's probably valuable to get a diverse selection of content creators that are covering the space. But I think you also want fundamental data like that dashboard stuff. I would say that is more of a sentiment is more of a leading indicator, and signups are more of a, is that the right terminology? I think a lagging indicator, I think is the right way to say that. Just meaning once they've signed up, it's almost really close to too late. Because when they sign up, they're likely to buy. And so you don't want to be reacting to last month's trend of new signups, because that would be pointing to, probably last month's buy volume. And if you're reacting to last month's buy volume, you might not be in front of next month's buy choices or buy pressure. Oscar, currently there's a kind of euphoria among the SPL community, which is generally a bad time to buy and flip. Interesting you say that. I'm not sure I agree, but me and Oscar, I love you, pal, but we don't agree on everything. Okay, I do want to say I think there's a general positivity for the most part. And, you have to point to SPS going from 0.4 of a penny to 0.8 of a penny. I don't know where it is right this very second, but of course that is that's going to help sentiment. And that probably means you're right in terms of, I wouldn't maybe rush into buying a bunch of assets today to flip them tomorrow. It would have been better to buy them at 0.4 SPS, because that's when sentiment's in the gutter and everyone's selling and the game is dying. But you can't, are we in a mini sort of euphoric moment before there is a major euphoric moment? Or are we in a mini euphoric wave before we see another reset to negative sentiment? You know, if I knew that I'd be rich, I would be, we would, but that some of the data we talked about, some of the ways of looking at it would be helpful to sort of get your head around your own opinion on the matter, on that conversation. Hey, Hoda, I have all regular foil comments maxed right now on the Rebellion Soulbound. Good for you. I wonder if you must have really bought into those maybe the common chests, or maybe, I don't know how much glint you had, Hoda, and I look forward to chatting with you more about this next Tuesday maybe, but you know, that's a big accomplishment. Many high-level players like DJ have already maxed their regular foil Soulbound reward card decks. I will by next season end. Awesome. Maxed it. Like, I mean, even the legendaries, eh? I've personally spent 1 million glint every season for the last 3 or 4 seasons, however long they've been out. And I've got a strong, let's say, gold deck. You know, maybe you would say it's a diamond deck, but it's not a champ deck. No, I think you'd say gold deck. I think you'd be right to say gold. I have a strong gold deck. Most people didn't have as much glint as me. No, most people is interesting, because when we say there's 50,000, pop back to, there's 2 ways to think about most people, right? There's most people in the sense of proportion of accounts. And then there's most people like proportion of players within the league at the highest levels, which Osco and I think Hoda are pointing to. At the highest levels of Modern, most people, high proportion of accounts, have those max cards. And then there's the other way of thinking in it. If there's 5,000 active human beings playing this game, you know, do 4,000 of them have max Soulbound reward card sets? I doubt it. I bet it's more like 1,000 of them do, or 500 of them do, but those 500 are the ones that are obviously crushing it in Modern, are dominating the leaderboards, are controlling guild brawls and tournament play, right? So most people within the context of the highest league, yes. Most people within Splinterlands, I don't think so, because I'm not your average bear. And I'm only at a gold league level. Like I spent a lot of glint. I think most people, number of accounts, didn't have what I had and haven't spent what I've spent. Oscar, I'm asking myself what I will do until the next set comes out. Well, 20 times multiplier. I wonder how much more DECB exists, because one of the things I'm convinced of is that people with DECB are still sitting on it, and they're the ones who are unlocking Soulbound reward cards and selling them for less than less than unlock value. Yesterday I was looking at the legendary Soulbound reward cards. Is actually in my current video that's out now. If you want to go check it out. But if we go to buy cards and we go into Rebellion's reward cards and we go into legendaries just as an example, and then we say, you know, look at $8, $9, 10. These cards are here. You can buy it for 10 right now. This card. I don't want to. I like Warborn Chieftain. I might. That's the other piece. I wonder if you bought some off friends or something. That's something that people could do privately. Regardless. For $10, I think it represents DCB being burnt, because if I did my math correct, like actually we can just check it right now. Open items, cards, and let's just see the burn value on those guys, or rather the unlock value. I think it's $20 or $18. So this is a legendary. Oh, that's a gold foil. Legendary, regular foil. So unlock, release Soulbound. This is 1 BCX. It's a 20 times multiplier. It would cost me 20,000 DEC, which at 800 Splintoshis, which is roughly where we are, we're talking $16 US dollars, or 20,000 DEC. And so for people to come in and, you know, have these on the marketplace for $10, because Warborn Chieftain is the same deal with a legendary card for $10. That has to be like, no one's doing that. No one's burning DEC to get less DEC, but they absolutely must be burning DECB. There's no other logical there. Like, there's none. Now with the gold foils, it's another story. There is zero. This could theoretically be worth doing. I don't know if it would. And I might be more inclined to, like, not even on the legendaries. But accessing, like let's see. Epic gold foils right now. Olivia the Brook, look at this. So she's selling, you can buy one for $48, eh? $48. Is that worth it? I know that the unlock value is something like, it's 250,000 DEC for a legendary unlock gold foil, which means that you're spending $200 roughly fiat currency, US dollar for fiat currency to unlock a legendary. I don't know what the epic gold foil is, but just legendary, which is to say that you would need to sell it for more than $200 US to make any sort of profit. But it's interesting to note there's none on the market, and maybe you could draw that sort of attention if you had the DEC to sink into it and risk. I don't know that that makes any sense, but looking at the epics, I bet these are below. Let's go check. $48 to buy it, and you would need theoretically 10, which there are only 4 of them. But let's say you wanted, could you make better profit? Is $48 a profit? I bet it isn't. Let's go quickly check. Go to an epic gold foil. I bet it's more than $50. Epic gold foil. Oh, see, here's the problem. Well, that's okay. This is, oh yeah, it's 1 BCX. Okay, cool. So what does this cost me? It's going to cost me 50,000 DEC. Okay. So this actually is helpful. So 1 BCX of an epic gold foil is going to cost me 50,000 DEC, which is roughly $40 US, which someone has done, and they've come to marketplace with some of the more powerful, desirable ones, and put out a couple of copies to see if if there's a biter. And you'd be spending 50,000 DEC to unlock it, and if it sells, you're going to get 62,000 DEC on the sale price. But then 5% goes to the market. 6%? I forget. Anyways, a good percent, which is still going to give you a marginal profit. See, that feels like a risky flip. Regardless, it's interesting to see that is happening, because I actually thought this might be more evidence of DCB actions at work. I do feel, side note, I do feel like if you need some of these Rebellion reward cards, I mean, these are pretty interesting numbers, aren't they? Like, $180 for this amazing card. You know, what is the cost to unlock? You always want to compare it with sort of the profitability to the price point. So I'm going to go back to reg. I'm just going to see what would it cost to unlock one. Can't do that very easily. Let's see. I need 2 Thanalorians. Like, to get my Thanalorian from level 3 to 4, I could buy 2 copies, and I would get oh, nothing significant. Wow. I would get 1 more melee damage. That's pretty cool. Anyways, items. Wanna see what I would get. What does it cost? So this is 23 BCX. 23 BCX. 2,000 DEC to unlock 1 card, 1 BCX card, because there's 23 BCX units here. 23 BCX units here, and there's a 46,000 DEC ticket. So 2,000 DEC per level, and they're pretty much doing that for cost. Like, they're doing that out of the goodness of their heart. That must be a DECB unlock. There's no other way to justify that. You're going to take that risk of unlocking a Night Reaper for 2,000 DEC and then put it on the market for 2,400 DEC. Yes, you're going to get a slight razor thin margin of profit when that sells, if that sells. But the probability that 3 other people could come and could undercut you just because they have DECB, or just because they want to leave the game or whatever, would not sit well with me considering that razor thin margin of profitability. Meaning, this is an interesting buy number to me. Like if you valued the impact of these cards, and if you were thinking long-term for Splinterlands, and you want to compete at a high level, like we said in the previous conversations, the highest league levels, these people have these cards, can't go out and buy Glint, but guess what? You can buy these amazing cards. And the price point is like slightly profitable for the seller, very slightly. I go, yeah, I could get behind that. To me, cards like Night Reaper and Shock Trooper would be high in my consideration. I wouldn't really be so, I don't think, like, just look at this. Even like Olivia the Brook is really awesome. I concede it's awesome. I previously talked about how I think some people are overhyping it, and I do think that is probably true. They made it seem like the sky was falling because Olivia the Brook was so overpowered. Clearly it's powerful. Not taking that away from it, but I don't think it's, game-ending OP. And so I wouldn't want to race in to pay $3 per BCX on a card that to bring me up to 46 or even to 32 where you get that second melee damage, when I don't really think Olivia the Brook's biggest contribution is her damage output. Her biggest contribution is that long-term power growth, power creep inside the battle. When she sticks around for 20 rounds and she picks up 50 different abilities, even 12 abilities, which I did the other day, it changed the game and allowed me to win. And so damage is of course impactful, and you'd like to spend that, but for $3, I wouldn't be interested in that. But then conversely, Night Reaper I think is really powerful with the wing break and the extra damage input that does, plus 2 damage to any flying monster. Plus with Last Stand, dude, watch out. This is a cool card. That's maybe my favorite epic, although Halfling Refugee is a beast and just fits into so many niches. Like I said about Dr. Blight earlier, like the low mana that can contribute meaningfully and does so many things for that low mana, gets played in so many more contexts that, cards like a Halfling Refugee are therefore more commonly applicable than an Aggro Longtail, which is a better card, but it, 15 mana versus 1. Guys, I'm going to kind of rip through some comments in the chat, but I do have to get going. I have to get my kid pretty quick here. Next step after these extra league chests will be daily quests being reworked and coming back. I hope you're right, and I think you're right. I spent about 2 million Glint this season. I was listening to, and I really want to talk with Jeff Opens Cards, Jeff Opens Packs. I met Jeff in Vegas and he seemed like a great guy. I've never really sat down with him, and I'd love to. Anyways, he is one that spends millions and millions of Glint per season. So he's there with you. Dahota, I also burned all my gold foils from Chaos Soulbound. Interesting. Okay. I think I burnt most of my gold foils. Maybe not all of them. Well, the ones I knew I wouldn't unlock. Exact same. That's what I did. And then Oski says I spent roughly 1.4 million per season, having burned many unfinished gold foil Chaos Soulbound rewards. I don't go for the current legendary Soulbound reward cards. They seem way too underwhelming. Okay, so I think Oski is confirming for me what I was kind of imagining. You both have put out a lot of Glint, of course, more than I have, but you haven't necessarily focused on the legendaries. You have, like me, thought commons, rares, and epics are way more impactful. So you've focused, and you say you will have those maxed out by the end of this season. I don't believe you're telling me you want to, or even that you're concerned about maxing out those legendaries. You will, though, right? Incidentally, you will. But kind of a little bit, who cares? I get that. I'm with you there. Mostly, with a couple exceptions. And then Dahota, remember, there will be a lot of these Rebellion reward cards ready to be unlocked at half price right now, 10 burn when they go out of print. Yes. Let's make this last comment. So I just talked about why I might want to buy a few copies of the Soulbound Reward Rebellion cards for a couple bucks. The epics, for instance, for like a couple of the Windbreak or a couple of the execute Thanalorian, either Night Reaper or Thanalorian or maybe Shock Trooper or Kazi if it was bringing me to an important next level. So you make the interesting point. They will be cheaper when the unlock value goes down. Yes. But I will probably already have them then. And so it's like a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, right? Like the idea in my mind, and everyone would have to make their own decision on this. It's not like this would be uniformly applicable advice. It's just, it might make sense for me. But if you needed 2 copies to make your Kazi Conjurer go from level 4 to 5 and give it 1 more archery damage, is that worth it? Spend $3 or $4. To me, it probably is. Some people, $3 or $4 is a lot of money. Could I get it cheaper just by playing the game? Yeah, I could get it for free. I probably will get it for free in the next even month and a half, 2 months, just playing the game. So I could wait, but then having it today would drive, utility today in a moment and give me edge on certain players who don't have it today. And I know that you know that. I'm just I'm not speaking exactly to Hoda. I'm speaking more broadly to anyone who might wonder, why would you buy expensive Soulbound reward cards? Well, they're even though a couple people in the chat today are talking about how they have them maxed, many people don't. As I alluded to earlier, if there are 5,000 active players, I don't think it's 4,000 that have their full Soulbound reward card sets. I bet it's 500 that have it. And those are the highest, best of the best, creme de la creme of Splinterlands, playing at the highest league level, visible on the leaderboards and in the tournaments, etc. But I'm saying I could distinguish myself from most of the masses if I selectively and thoughtfully attribute some of the value I'm already putting into Splinterlands or willing to put into Splinterlands into cards that will move the needle meaningfully. Now, I probably wouldn't buy 9 copies of Shock Trooper, even though I love this card, and even though moving it from level 4 to 5 would give me 1 more, 5 damage would be huge. But this card is, in my opinion, more niche of the epics. Thanalorian Blade, I would love to see maxed out. I'm 2 copies away from level 4. Level 4 gives me 1 more melee damage. 1 more melee damage is a big deal, especially in conjunction with Execute. So that could be worthwhile for $4. Arachne Weaver, I'm 8 copies away. Not going to do that. Night Reaper, I'm 5 copies away. Probably not going to do that. Blaze, dude, thanks, man. Oh, whoa. Dude, Blaze, thank you, my brother. Wow. Appreciate you, pal. I know this is Chaos Legion. I love this card, and I value that card way beyond the price point that the market would apply to that. Thank you, Blaze. Appreciate you, pal. Huge, huge. Time and attention. Amazing. Thank you, brother. So just circling back to finishing the point, if I could throw a little money into some key places that really helped me move the needle in a short term, give me an edge on my opponents for the next 8 weeks while they're still struggling and striving to get those cards, I would say that would be worth it. Not everybody's going to agree. Not everybody's going to have the same sort of financial flexibility. But for me, a few bucks wouldn't make a big difference. And so that's why I might do it, even though I know full well I will eventually get them for free through time and attention. And so thank you very much for the comments, guys. Thank you very much for the amazing conversation. You're all awesome. And Blaze, I appreciate you, pal. That's huge. You're a gem, buddy. I sincerely, you're a gentleman and a scholar. That's what we used to say in our old university fraternity days. Bolt's good to see you. Yeah, I agree. I maxed out Night Reaper yesterday by buying 1 copy. See, you get it. That's right. Like if you can move the needle for $2 to get into that next league and you get the last stand with Night Reaper, let's go, right? That's a huge upgrade with the last stand on the Night Reaper. Amazing card for $2 on putting it where you want it. Let's go. Bolts is his favorite Shock Trooper. It's so good. My only thing, that shock is worth it. But that debilitation is just a little bit, it puts it out of the conversation for the best of the epics. To me, Night Reaper is number 1, or Thanalorian Blade, but probably Night Reaper. And maybe even, I might like, no, probably Night Reaper, Olivia, Thanalorian as a 1-2-3 punch. Yeah, absolutely. Dahota, Blaze is the man. Appreciate you guys. And you know what? I'm going to do this next week, so set your calendars. I'll be back. And for the members who were here today, Nathan, thanks for the comment earlier, and for others too. I saw, who else did I see? I saw Paul. I saw Jim was out there. Guys, you're amazing, and I look forward to chatting with you guys tomorrow. I'm going to do a live 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to join the members, check out the member page, guys. Have an amazing day. God bless. Bye for now.